Friends, today is Wednesday, the 12th of August. We're in the cathedral, as you can see. A little dark this morning, unlike the last few mornings, the light shining through the windows. And maybe just as well, we deal with a challenging subject in our gospel today, that is what to do about the difficult task of correction. Someone has offended you, someone has hurt you. How do you handle it, and what do you do? The gospel today gives a kind of three-step process of dealing with an issue like that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but at least it gives a process that is respectful of both the person offended and the offender himself or herself. You know, I didn't really pay much attention to church penalties, sanctions, before I began the study of canon law, when I discovered there's a whole section of the code of canon law on sanctions, what to do when somebody offends you or offends the community or simply breaks the law. How is that handled? And there's a whole system of processes, both administrative and judicial, about how to handle that. The gospel today gives us a kind of a three-step process, and it certainly is worth trying. And the first is fraternal correction. Fraternal correction. If somebody offends you, you go to that person and you bring your issue to them directly. Not gossiping, not spreading it through the whole community, not hurting their good name, even yours, but bringing that offense to them and discussing it with them. And the gospel says that if that person listens to you, you've won over your brother or sister. I haven't found fraternal correction to really work. Having lived many years in the church, through the seminary, through religious communities, and so on, usually it is taken as an offense. You bring it to a person, they're offended, they're hurt, it doesn't bring about that reconciliation. It demands a great deal of grace and a great deal of charity. If it works, though, it works. But the gospel even recognizes that sometimes it won't. And so step number 2 is to get some witnesses. Because the problem sometimes is that we are the offender, not the recipient of the offense. Am I being just here? Do I understand the situation? Discuss it with a couple of others. Only a couple, not the whole community, just a couple of people. And if they say, yes, you have been offended and we will be your witnesses, we'll look into this. If that works, that's great, and it's finished and it's put behind. But it says sometimes that doesn't work either. And thus, third step, if they refuse to listen to them, tell the church. That is significant, telling the church. And again, we're dealing here not with just simple little things, but with serious offenses. If I were to get up in the pulpit and point my finger at someone and say, that person has committed a crime against this community, well, that would be something serious. All things considered, the process that is given to us is hopefully one that is just, one that relies upon the witness of others, and one that is looks to the good of the person offended and even the offender. But sometimes, of course, none of that works, and then we are brought to other kinds of procedures. And as I mentioned, in the church, we have administrative, we have judicial procedures. I began my study of canon law in 1983, just at the time when coming to the surface were many stories of clergy sexual abuse. How to deal with those, how to deal with the offender, how to deal with the church that has been hurt by that person. The church, in its wisdom, distinguishes two kinds of penalties. One is medicinal, to bring the person who committed the offense to repentance. and the other that is called expiatory, in order to bring healing to the church, to the community that has been offended. And we have processes that, and hopefully just processes that hopefully bring that justice. But again, what we rely upon is the honesty of the person who offended, the honesty of the person who has been offended, and the honesty and the justice of the church to reconcile and to bring about good, to make sure that the person who committed the crime repents of it, and to make sure that the community feel that justice has taken place, and that's a hard one, the healing of the community. All of that, of course, comes together as part of our life in community, Christian charity being the foundation of all of it. Hard for us to do, but when we live in community, these things are necessary. And we depend upon a person who is able to judge, a bishop who is the administrator, or a judge in a trial who makes the decision, and hopefully a just one. The ultimate result, of course, is to bring peace and reconciliation. Peace and reconciliation. And that's what we hope for in the church. Hold that thought, and we'll see you tomorrow.